Alright, so here's my last video for now. We're going to be looking at SKT versus Jin, a truly epic match. Really format defining, based on the patch since Cinderhulk is introduced. And we see Sejuani getting played, and we see one of the first iterations of this really tanky team comp. The Urgot Alistar bot lane, which, you know, we've seen a lot of Urgot Alistar, Urgot Nautilus. They can really bully you 2v2. So, Jin, you know, they're kind of on an old comp. It turns out it doesn't end up doing too well against SKTs, but what they should pick up on is that they really want to lane swap away from this stuff. Okay, you really don't want to be in that phase. Now, the problem is that even if this goes 2v1, they have a lot of dive pressure. Okay, so you need to be aware of that too. These two, Corki just wants to farm into his Trinity Force. Trundle is happy to get the 1v1, but he can survive in a 1v2. He can actually do jungle camps quite a lot because of his passive and his bite. It actually allows him to survive fairly nicely. But also, you know, if he does end up 1v2, he can farm under tower and sustain like that too. They don't have too much poke from this lane anyway. In the mid lane, of course, you know, as it always seems to be, it's probably just going to be a farm lane. I would expect Anivia to get bullied a little bit earlier. Lissandra's Q just on such a short cooldown. Anivia's comparatively long cooldowns. Now, one thing about Sejuani you can say is that although she is such a strong pick, she doesn't have such a good early game. And what Rek'Sai can actually do is take advantage of that. In a lane swap, he can be a lot more mobile. He can really give Sejuani the runaround. So, if Rek'Sai is fast, he can, you know, they might be looking to do a 3-man dive. Possibly, if there's a jungle follow, a 4-man dive on this Hecarim. A good thing that Jin do have going for them is if they do get to 2v1 the Hecarim. The problem with Hecarim is that he does need more items. He needs to hit that power spike. Trundle is not really reliant on any kind of power spike. What he's just reliant on is his base stats, his Q base, his ulti base to make him a ridiculous 1v1 duelist. And he will be able to 1v1 Hecarim for most of the game. It would require a really specific power spike for Hecarim to be able to do that, and I just don't think he's going to hit it if Jin are able to get the 2v1. Now, even though, you know, I will admit that the result of this game is somewhat already decided because SKT do have the superior comp on this patch. Okay, Lissandra and Corki have turned out to be a lot weaker just because they're fairly reliant on Burst, and Burst is so ineffective against such tanky champions. So, admittedly, a fundamental problem in their team comp. But let's just see how they play the early game, because it is very interesting. Okay, so everyone spreads out. No 5-man in 1-lane cheese this game. Well, it's not even cheese, really. It's just strategy. Oops. Okay, so Trace spots out Morin. Okay, so they know he's in the top side of the map. I don't think the bot lanes have seen each other yet. Oh, there was a ping, so I think they just saw each other. Must have seen a ward, perhaps. Yep, okay, so their ward was seen. Now, so this is very clever. So, Jin show in the bot lane. So this is something they did similar to last time. They show in the bot lane. They show in the 2v2. They get warded on, and then they walk out of vision. And when they walk out of vision, you don't know where they're going. What they do is they recall. And now what Trace does is he puts the ward here. Okay, to see if SKT get into this lane with their bot lane. Now, if SKT go into this lane, Jin are going to try and run away. So they kind of have all bases covered. By sending their bot lane into top, they can do the Krugs and then walk down to bot lane. I mean, they will be behind, but it's better they be behind than they have to lane against the monstrosity that is these two. But as it turns out, SKT were just happy to sit in bot lane. I don't think they minded the lane swap. And they just kind of allow this to happen. Not too sure about that. I think that if you do see the enemy team in bot lane and then they walk out of vision, I think recalling is actually the better course of action. So yeah, as you can see, Jin Air, they're hanging very far back. Okay, they're waiting till the last possible moment. They know that there's no freezing going here from SKT because they didn't show on the ward, so they know they're safe to walk up, tank the wave, freeze it. Trace is given the whole Gromp. There's a great strategy with Rek'Sai where you smite the Gromp and give it away to someone else for the experience because you're not so reliant on hitting level 2 to jungle efficiently. Got another one of these pauses. Okay. Got some farming. Okay. So let's just have a look at what the top lane is doing because it's fairly important. So Hecarim still following Sejuani around. He won't want to sit in that 1v2 at all. He's just not going to get any farm until it gets to the tower, so he may as well follow Sejuani around. Trace on the other hand teleports into bot lane, puts the ward down to see if he's going to get dove. That ward is not very far out, actually. That is a very risky ward because even if it gets to the tower and Alistar is at least level 2, Alistar could easily headbutt pulverize you under the tower and someone could walk into vision of this ward and you might still die. So, not really a big fan of that ward. Maybe it should be out here to see if the dive's coming. But he just really wants to get... I think he just wanted to save time by that's why he put the ward there. Because he just really wants this wave. He just didn't want to get dove. So this is the standard pattern, right? So what they do is, when you freeze a wave, when you tank it in the beginning, you're not actually freezing it immediately. What you're actually doing is, you're actually going to push, but you're going to build up a huge creep wave. Okay, so what that does is it creates the pressure of a dive. Okay, and when you build up a huge creep wave and that smacks against the tower, if that experience is missed, well, that's very good, obviously. If the experience is not missed and the top laner is actually there, what happens is it then bounces out. Then you have the possibility of freezing it. So watch what's going to happen here. Watch Bang's wave management. It's actually quite good. So he's going to be last hitting the minions at very, very low health. There you go, the last possible second. Now, what Annie is here to do, so this is very good too by Jin Air. So they know that Annie is not required in the top lane. She's come all the way across the map. And what she's going to be doing is, she is going to break this freeze. Okay, so when Bang tries to pull the wave back, they now expect Alistar to roam. And when Alistar roams, Trundle and Annie are going to be able to push the wave against Urgot and break the freeze. They're not looking for any kills. They know that there's no chance of killing here. So Hecarim finally recalls. He's going to go into top lane with Alistar. So like I said before, very important that you have this Relic Shield support. So it's kind of an underestimated synergy because you might think like they're not related in any way, but having a Relic Shield support with a weak 1v2 top laner is very important. Because it really does mitigate a lot of those weaknesses. Okay, so yeah, Trace able to break the freeze. He's just going to shove it out up to the tower. See, normally Bang would try and freeze here. But they were able to push it all the way to the tower. Bang wasn't able to tank it at all. Tank the creep wave just outside tower range. So good roam by Jin Air actually, but Faker's wall is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Stops any kind of flash done from Annie. They're able to get away. Very well played by SKT there. I mean, it was a little bit curious as to why they were there in the first place. I don't really know what the idea was, but they were able to get out. They did waste a fair bit of time, though. Whereas Jin Air had shoved in their wave, so they were free to roam around. I think Faker thought he just shoved it in so he could just walk around, but I don't think that was too safe. Right, now Hecarim and Alistar Now, unfortunately for Hecarim, he's still not going to do too great against Corki for a while. Flask Cloth, not too bad. I mean, he should be okay, actually, in the 1v1. I think he just wants maybe a little bit more experience, a little bit more help, then he should be okay to 1v1. One thing about Hecarim is he doesn't have a lot of innate sustain. His W is actually a very small amount of healing because you don't actually, it's not like you max it, so it's a very small amount. Bang recalls. Now the question is Marin going to recall and go bot? So now Che recalls. Okay, so we see them walk out of vision and recall. And now, okay, so since all the recalls have gone down, this is very clever. Now Jin make a quick move on Dragon. So they had the advantage. Faker's recall timing is somewhat unfortunate. I mean, he did go back for that tier, so that is important. But Jin really capitalized. So I think, you know, SKT, they are in a bit of a power trough. They're on this double tier. And Jin just take advantage of it really nicely. Okay, so Bang is now going to try and freeze top lane 1v1 versus Pilot. Because Urgot is going to have a little bit of an advantage in that 1v1. Even with just tier, he'll still have an advantage. Until Corki has completed Sheen and Phage. Bangy just warding and clearing wards, trying to keep Bang safe. Because Bang wants to be able to push and pressure. And he needs vision to do so. Okay, so if Pilot were here by himself, then this 2v1 dive would be on, but they don't have vision of Che, so they can't actually make the play. And Rek'Sai is up here to support in case some kind of crazy dive does go on. They expected Bangy to still be around here, so that's why Chaser was up there to cover. And Jin get back to the 1v1. So who is this advantage for? So Jin were able to get a dragon out of it. So this gold differential is, you know, a little bit misleading. The dragon is obviously not worth gold, but it is worth gold in value. So Jin come out slightly ahead, but that's really what you would expect based on the comps. SKT, a little bit weaker early. They have the stronger 2v2, but they have the weaker mid lane, weaker top lane, I would say, and weaker jungler as well. So to come out fairly even for SKT is actually not bad. And they will want to focus on when these tiers get stacked to actually create fights. Okay, so I mean, it's basically standard lanes now. Jin are happy with this. The dragon's gone. And with dragon gone, SKT are happy to send their bot lane into top, to 2v2 against Jin without risk of losing anything. The mid lane's just Farmville. As I said, Lysandra should have an advantage. She went Negatron Cloak to mitigate a lot of Anuvia's damage. Well, her bases should be enough to still bully Anivia. Okay, good gank by Chaser. So, yeah. So this is something that Rek'Sai can do that Sejuani simply can't. Okay, the ultimate gets the last tick there, I think. So, well played by Jin. Just a good gank by Chaser. Well timed. Marin had his wards. You know, they had deep wards, but you know, the advantage of Rek'Sai. Okay, you have so many gank paths. Okay, you can go pretty much any way, and as long as you have some idea of where the wards are, you know, you can just time them. You see their enemy champion walk into darkness. He's gone for 5 seconds. Okay, he probably warded my Gromp. He walked back. So, just that amount of awareness from Jin to have an idea of where the wards are allowed for this gank. And I think because of this, they do have enough of an advantage that they should be able to snowball it into the mid-game if the compositions were more even. Unfortunately, as it turned out, They really weren't. And Trundle is a pretty good meta pick against, you know, the tank meta, because his ultimate really does just make him very unkillable, while significantly reducing the tankiness of the enemy front line. It's probably not enough to save the rest of this comp, this Lysandra, Corki, Annie core, which is just simply quite weak against such a tanky lineup. And Faker is probably going to be building Rod of Ages as well, so he's not going to be too squishy. Okay, thanks for watching my last video. Hope to get some feedback on these, and see you again.